So, and the problem is, I'm always sitting next to someone who's usually taller than me, just because that's how it's worked my whole life.
I'm slouching.
And keep slouching, because right now we're joined actually by Taylor Faust from GreenCars.com. You're the brand manager for GreenCars, and GreenCars is, again, a big part of why the EV Reality Check is here. So people want to know, what is GreenCars, Taylor?
Yeah, it's a website that basically is backed by Lithia and Chargeway, the largest retail, the largest retailer of cars in North America.
You sell a lot of them.
We sell quite a few cars, and it's a sustainability arm basically of anywhere that you can find a hybrid or an EV in one place.
That's when I first met you and Kevin from the team. It was the conversations kind of wore into, okay, so the dealers, we talked about it a lot yesterday. The dealers have a lot to basically kind of like change their mindset when selling an EV or a plug-in car. And there's a lot of resources that aren't at their disposal. And at the same time, there's a lot of resources that consumers need, Expo being an example, but you have a national reach. And so that's a big part of what you have to think about is how do you accommodate all of those factors?
Well, national and international. So half the company's actually in the UK. A lot of people don't know that.
That's right.
With the acquisition of Jardine and a few others. But yeah, we had to, in 2020, we basically were getting too many questions from our retailing side of basically, hey, where's the next charger in Billings, Montana, Florida? Like, can you help us, from the corporate standpoint to the dealers? And we put our heads together and basically came up with GreenCars.com, housing all of our vehicles on there. But then also, yeah, you can find a charging map. You can find the incentives calculator. It's literally a resource for selling a car, but then also the consumer side.
So as we were having a conversation yesterday on this stage, and we were talking about dealers, and I was admitting to the fact that I spend far too much time lurking around Reddit and the electric vehicle sub there. And the sense I get from reading that is that most people there seem to feel that dealers are kind of more the problem than the solution when it comes to selling EVs, and that either they don't know what they're talking about, or they actually actively don't want to sell EVs because they make more money from maintaining gas cars.
Yeah, no, it's a flip of a coin. It really is. It depends on the manager and how they want to embrace it. We have a lot of managers that actually take advantage of it and sell more EVs, and in turn they get better acquisition from the manufacturers side.
That's such a great point, because if a dealership is not moving the metal, as the dealers will say, and those cars just start to get stagnant, they're not going to get those allocations. So those who learn how to figure out how to move an electric car effectively, those brands will then, from the allocation standpoint, start getting more of those newer cars. So if a brand new plug-in car comes out from a certain brand, and all of a sudden it's the hot ticket, then the dealers that weren't moving those electric cars effectively, they don't get any.
But then also you get gas as well. So you sell one EV, for some manufacturers, you get maybe 2 gas cars.
Right.
And it's a game. It really is. But the dealerships, we give them total control. That's how Lithia and Driveway is. Every store is ran independently, and it's their game. It's their market. We want them to own it. And if EV is a part of it, which we hope it is, then it helps all of us.
So you mentioned, you operate in the UK as well, and do you see a different kind of attitude, like from UK car dealers from American ones, in terms of how willing they are to embrace EVs?
We're just dissecting it now, but yeah, there's a definite difference. There was someone up on stage, I think a motorcycle company yesterday.
Oh, Seb, yeah.
Yeah, and
amazing.
Yeah, smart individual, but he was saying it best, is that the adoption is there, and we see that with the dealerships over there.
And that's a big part of what, again, we're talking international discussion now too, around, again, a company like Lithia and now GreenCars that has that across the pond look of like, we've got to manage both these for different cultures. But then even here in North America and the United States for Expo, every single city that we go to, it's oftentimes a different flavor in that kind of like micro demographic of that city and that state, and that's something that you guys have to contend with because of where your showrooms are located.
Yeah, and then with such a large network, you can do dealer trades with vehicles. So if one market isn't savvy enough for EVs, we always can move them to another market. So that's the best part about the scalability factor. And then also, so we talk a lot about cars, selling cars, but there's also the charging factor. So we work with ChargePoint, partner with them very closely, but we need chargers close to our dealerships. People don't realize that in our operations, these cars need to be charged all the time. We want test drives. We want the customer to feel like it's just a normal vehicle. But in all reality, if you don't have a charging network close to you, then you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot.
And some of the automakers that have gone straight to the dealers and said, okay, if you're going to sell these EVs, here are the things we need you to do to make your showroom EV ready, essentially.
Right.
And in some of those cases, it worked out pretty seamlessly. I think some of the OEMs did a better job than others about giving them the information they needed. I talked to one dealer one time at the National Auto Dealers Association show who walked up to me and said, I've got a question for you. Did I get taken for the cost that I paid for my charger? And he walked me through what he paid for like a home charger, an upgraded level 2 in his service bay. And he told me the price he paid, and I went, yeah, that was too much.
Well, didn't Ford for a while sort of mandate that its dealers had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on installing?
Well, that didn't work out.
Yeah, and then allocation again comes into a factor. If you don't put in electric chargers for some manufacturers, you don't get the cars.
Yeah, and to your point about the Ford example, when that was first announced, and this was I think the summer of 2022 or 2023, and that was with the intent of, again, I think Ford, and Jim Farley's perspective as the CEO, was looking at saying, we have this great resource at our disposal. We do have our dealer network. We need to have people buying these cars from those showrooms. We need to have the assets available to make sure that the cars are charged, people have an understanding of how it works. So Ford was leaning on the dealers to get that done, and the dealer's response was effectively, well, look, okay, walk us through how we have to be the ones to invest millions of dollars into getting this done. Is there another option here? What's going on? And the pushback I think that happened was the way it was described and kind of positioned in the showrooms is there was not an understanding from their perspective for the ROI at first. And so I think, so in that respect, it turned into, there was some pushback, and then a year and a half later, all of a sudden Jim Farley said, you know what we're going to do? We're just going to get access to superchargers, and we're just going to solve that problem that way. So I think that's the thing is, I think a lot of the automakers have been trying to figure out how to navigate how they provide the resources for infrastructure, both for the dealer side and inevitably for their customers.
Yeah, and we have 52 different brands that we have to cater to, so very, very difficult when it comes to the information side. That's why GreenCars is so important, at least internally for us. We're bringing it to the customers now, but we write about every single manufacturer. It's an unbiased approach, because if we're biased, then it doesn't make our company look good.
By nature, you guys are brand agnostic.
Exactly. Yeah.
So including like Tesla and Rivian, who brands you don't sell.
Yeah. So we are the largest seller of used Teslas in North America. So
well, that's part of it too. Is somebody might trade something in that they might have had a Tesla or a Rivian or something that's from a newer EV brand, but at the end of the day, those cars that float into your guys' inventory, they also have to be sold at the end of the day.
Right.
So there's a lot to unpack with that for how the ecosystem has worked for dealers and how it's kind of starting to transition.
Right, and then I'll speak to our e-commerce side. So Driveway, we push. Which is just completely online sales. We use the dealerships as kind of like a floating entity within a market, and they need to be rehearsed on what Tesla is, on what Lucid is now. We're getting used ones, and quite frankly, some of them have never even seen a Lucid, in their market before. So we point them to GreenCars. We say, hey, we have 15 articles on what Lucids are, how you turn on the vehicle, how what specs are on it, and just educate yourself, and it'll help you sell that car for just a premium. So
I think, and you talked yesterday about just your experience of going to different dealers and just having that moment of like, okay, I didn't get the answer I wanted here, I didn't get the answer I wanted here. And I think that what that speaks to is there's efforts being made, but this is a system that's existed in this format for decades and decades and decades. And a lot of the systems that have been in place, even transitioning from paper to electronic efforts inside of a showroom, can sometimes be a little bit of a hurdle.
Some stores still use paper.
Yeah, exactly. So these are things that we're seeing the industry that's changing rapidly outside of the showrooms. But the one thing I will give the dealers credit for is when they have to act, they do. They really do finally just go, okay, if we need to actually organize around this, we can. But I think that the growth of the EV world has, again, kind of been this slow growth. But now we're to a place now where there's over 100 models with plugs on them from dozens of brands. And the reality is every time we go to an expo city, and you see this too as well, the curiosity is there.
Well, yeah. 2 years ago when I was working with Kevin, my supervisor, we had dealerships saying, why do we care? We don't sell electric cars.
Yeah, they're not even here.
We don't even have models. And then now they're coming to us. They're saying, we have plug-in hybrids. Land Rover is one of them. I was just talking to one in Orlando, and he said, hey, Taylor, show us. So it's really cool to see the progression of the auto industry and, where they're going. Electric might not be for everyone, but at least there's optionality.
Yeah, a lot of the brands have had to catch up. For the longest time, we had brands like Tesla, and then we had a lot of compliance EVs for a long time, sold in zero-emission vehicle states such as California, Massachusetts, etc. But we've graduated. the reason why Expo has the footprint that it does have and the brands that are here is because there are now actual offerings and there's actual diversity inside the marketplace, but it's going to require a lot of effort from the dealers to really get themselves prepared, because at the end of the day, like we were talking at the beginning, if they're not moving those cars, then they're going to miss out as that evolution keeps happening.
Oh yeah. Even if they're taking them as a loss at the front end, in the back end, you still can make quite a good penny on these electric vehicles.
So beyond that, this is the 7th out of 8 cities that we've been in this year, and New York is something. I mean, you guys have been here before as well. What are you noticing already about the differences you've seen in every city for Expo? Because again, you guys have that national and international footprint, but what have you seen that stands out to you the most?
Just the growth, I think, of Expo in itself. Last year, I didn't see GM here. I didn't see Cadillac.
Right.
Subaru, that was a new one.
That's a new one.
The micro-mobility section, has grown. Having ChargePoint here even to answer the tough questions around their network, I keep seeing it grow, and it's astounding to me.
Yeah. It's for those of us that are in the space all the time, it's almost like that. We have to take a step back to actually appreciate what we're seeing, and oftentimes it's by the numbers. And even here in Long Island and here in the New York area, talking to Rosemary yesterday, she's like, our growth numbers year to year, we're not talking 2% or 4%. We're talking 30%. We're talking 21%. Again, the numbers are not small for what's happening, especially in areas like New York.
And then when I was introducing Electrify Expo to the network, a lot of people were hemming and hawing a little bit. Now I actually have dealerships that say, hey, we'll provide a Volkswagen for you if you can bring it to the show, because Volkswagen isn't there. It's sad, but so
fill the gap.
Fill the gap, exactly. The Audi store down the street, they're saying, hey, you want the newest and greatest? And I said, I don't have room for it. If I did, but our network embracing it a little more and having a little more, I wouldn't say open minds, because most
they're
of them
becoming more proactive to be
exactly,
yeah.
Matt. It's nice. It really is. Makes my job a hell of a lot easier.
I was going to say, you're no longer having to go find them. They're coming to you going,
exactly.
Hey, we heard about this thing again, and now we're involved. Yeah. Is there a woodpecker? I'm sorry, Randy. Can we get a check on that? So, of all the things at Electrify Expo, it is the woodpecker on the metal pole.
So just to help me understand GreenCars, it's both consumer facing and a resource for your dealers, is that?
That's correct, yeah. And we also have dealerships outside our network that are reaching out. We don't have the resources to cater to that just yet, but a lot of mom and pop stores are saying, hey, for a monthly fee, can we have this? Can we put our inventory on it? And can we also get our people educated and at least have a better understanding so they can push their own cars,
Right.
But yeah, it really helps our 26,000 employees. We have a monthly newsletter that goes out internally. We have one that's externally that I help write. But yeah, we're both facing.
So I keep coming to this from my perspective, someone who lives in New York City, in Manhattan. Yeah. So we have unique set of circumstances in terms of what it's like to own a car. And I think Matt was alluding to it earlier. My first experience when I was looking for an EV, going to dealers, along 11th Avenue in Manhattan, was this wasn't Tesla. But I would go to BMW or to Mercedes and say, well, I don't have charging because I live in an apartment. What can I do? And the first 2 different dealers said to me, and this was before there was interoperability with superchargers, 2 of them said, well, there are Tesla chargers around.
Yeah, well, again,
he said, go to Google. He said, and he showed me on his phone, look, Google, did you put in chargers? He showed me Tesla chargers.
I'll bounce off of that. So I bought my Tesla 2021 Model S, beautiful car, dream car, and self-driving and everything like that. But I walked into our own dealership, and I said, where do I charge it? And they said, anywhere.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I can use that outside port. And it was a Mercedes store, and no, I couldn't charge it there. I said, was there any incentives because it's a used car? They said no. $4,000 off. I just went down the list, and boy, it just opened my eyes to, like, if we were better informed, I think we would sell even more of them. And
I think you just hit the nail on the head. It is about information, but it's also about keeping it simple for them to parse. I mean, we often, a lot of conversations we've had today, even talking to Stan earlier, is we covered so much in such a quick amount of time that can oftentimes overwhelm people if it's just too much at once. So what's brass tacks? What do you need to? Hey, can I charge that there?
Yeah.
And how do they have a quick understanding of like, oh yes you can or no you can't? I mean, this is why Chargeway exists. Is to say it's like, look, no, put your car into this app. It'll tell you where you definitely can or can't. And hey, if you need an adapter for that location, it'll tell you need an adapter. These are some things that the dealers don't know what they don't know. The public doesn't know what they don't know. So without events like Expo and without GreenCars.com, without, again, apps like Chargeway, this is just left to them to go, I got to go make another spreadsheet again to figure this out. Yeah. So we kind of high level covered a lot, but I mean, kind of rounding things out, like for those who want to know more information about GreenCars, obviously, if you can hear our voices, swing by. This is the EV Reality Check booth powered by GreenCars. Get your free t-shirt, and then what you do is you just kind of make a nice hard right 90 degrees and bang, go to the GreenCars booth, check things out. But how else can they find information about GreenCars?
I mean, social media, we have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. You can find us there. A great YouTube channel where we cover micromobility too.
Okay.
So motorcycles, jackrabbits, anything that you see at Expo, we try to highlight. And then obviously vehicle reviews too.
Do you have a lawnmower section?
What was that?
Do you have a lawnmower section?
I saw those here, actually.
Honestly, that sounds like he's like, dude, there's electric lawnmowers. I'm like, we have finally peaked. we have finally got the lawnmowers here.
It may be because I live in an apartment without a backyard, so I'm just kind of obsessing over what I can't have.
I did make the claim to him when he's like, no, I live in Manhattan. I'm like, he's like, yeah, well, I could just draw a cable out of my window. I'm like, yeah, just hide it behind the ivy. He goes, what the heck? He's like, what kind of home do you think I'm living in where I got ivy on the front of it? I was like,
That's
I
hilarious.
just picture Manhattan. It's like that.
It's a tenement.
Well, I mean, I see the movies. I go, that's the ideal Manhattan apartment. Yeah. So, well, again, so kind of final comments, final thoughts. I mean, we've been to a lot of cities, but New York's always an awesome one. Anything to close things out?
I mean, yeah, great audience here, and like I said, it's really nice to see Expo growing, the manufacturers leaning into it, and yeah, just the embracement from everyone.
Cool, that's awesome. Well, again, if you can hear our voices, this is the EV Reality Check booth. It is powered by GreenCars.com, and we have Taylor Faust from GreenCars sitting here with us.